I wanted to go over my 3-layer context system that I set up for my Claude OS to prevent my agents for hallucinating, writing generic follow-ups, and missing necessary context about my business and about my customers, so that we actually make them contextual about what's going on and what they need to know about our business. And I've done this in 3 steps. And I just want to walk you through how you can set this up for yourself as well, so your agents stop hallucinating and stop giving you AI slop that, I think no one wants, because by the end of the day, we want our agents to perform the same actions that we used to do with the same quality or even a better quality. So therefore, this context layer is really important to give your agents the necessary infrastructure of really leveraging your time and giving you the best foundation for that. So on the top, we have the execution layer, where you set up your own agents inside Claude Code, for example, or even if you use n8n or other automation builders for your agents. So for example, you have your list building agent, you have an inbound agent, an AI SDR, or other custom agents. So specifically for the AI SDR, what I set up was an agent that replies to incoming positive emails from our campaigns. The problem was that it's sometimes outputted me content that, like a draft that didn't really make sense. So it hallucinated about meeting next week, even though there wasn't even a meeting set up. So I fixed that by adding this context layer underneath the agent. And then we have skills, obviously, that kind of also make use of that context system, where they call, for example, information about the company, information about the customer, to do the same kind of steps every single time. So for example, if you build a lookalike builder, so I have a lookalike builder skill that builds a list. So I input 5 domains. It creates me a list of 2,000 companies. And then I have another skill I'm running over those companies' LinkedIn pages to extract the decision makers, get the email addresses, verify the email addresses, and puts them into my lead database. So this is kind of the execution layer. And for that, we need to have a brain. And inside the brain, we have, for example, signals about customers, about hiring, funding, and stuff like that, about you. So your positioning, your competitive positioning compared to your competitors, your ICP model, who is your ICP, who you're trying to target, what works. So what works from outbound, from your campaigns, from content, from sales conversations, and also about the voice, how you want to write emails, LinkedIn messages, and content. So for example, YouTube scripts or LinkedIn post. And finally, we have the revenue context about giving your agents the necessary context about your customers and what's happening inside your go-to-market tools. So then we're moving into the context layer, where we have who we are, and I also call this the memory layer, which I will talk about in a second, and then what's happening, which is the revenue layer, and then what's happening around them. So here we're talking about the signals about hiring, funding, social media, engagement signals, and all these things. And for what's happening, what we do is we get all the raw data from your CRM, from your Gmail, from your email conversations, meeting notes, LinkedIn chats, and calendar, and other tools, and put them into the revenue layer. But I will talk about this in a second as well. So first of all, we have the memory layer, where I think everyone has heard of that now. We integrated the Obsidian approach, which Kapathy talks about storing all your raw data, and set up your own LLM wiki, where we get the raw data, we embed and tag them, so timestamp per source, and then we save them as nodes, so basically as facts. And the more facts we save inside your knowledge graph, we can build relationships between the nodes, where we can, for example, if we're talking about content. So for example, you mentioned something about a specific kind of information that you someday created, that it then looks into that node, and then looks into, okay, what other nodes are linked to that specific node. So we then can see this node and this node and this node. So we're able to understand the different pieces of information in the bigger picture when we, for example, create new content about a similar topic that we already talked about. So we can use that as. So here's how this looks like when we go into our Obsidian graph, which is basically, like I said, the knowledge graph of the nodes and the related facts. So we can see the relationships inside the content that you upload to your system. So for example, the context that you store inside Claude Code. On the left side, you can see our structure that I have set up. And now on the right side, you can see the visualization of how those nodes relate to each other, of how we have like specific context that are identified. And yeah, you can just see like the knowledge graph that we use to give our agents the necessary memory about our company and the research that we have made about the market, the competitors, and even like setting up your own content OS in here as well, which I'm right now setting up for myself, but I'm not really into this right now, so I will dig into this in later though. And on the right side, we have the revenue layer, which is basically similar to the knowledge graph, but here we create a entity graph. So again, we put in the raw data, but here we put in the raw data about what's actually happening inside the tools. So the sales conversations you have across email, LinkedIn, and inside your meeting notes. You can also integrate your CM data to this. So we take all of this raw data, and here's the differentiator, because we resolve them to a specific account and extract signals from the sales activities. So for example, we have categories like pain points, goals, tech stack, and all these things. We're able to identify those signals from the raw data we get and resolve them to a specific account. So we can see we have like the accounts. And what I mean by resolve is that, for example, you have a meeting with someone with a lead, and he joins the call with his business email, but then sends you an email with his private email. And even we're trying to resolve his LinkedIn account to the same email, to the same account. So instead of having like 3 different entities, we resolve them into one. So even though that the lead, for example, has different email addresses and a LinkedIn URL that we try to identify to a specific account, we get them into one account so that we can see, first of all, the related accounts to a company, but also if there are multiple decision makers or accounts for the same company, we can create this kind of entity graph, which you can see on the right side, where we can see is, for example, we have the company Notion, and we have different decision makers in the same company with a different ICP score, because like the founder might have a higher ICP score. There's a higher intent based on the sales engagement we have made with them. So it helps us identifying, okay, who should we target and what's going on. So our agent is able to write contextual follow-ups, make decisions about, okay, what should we do next with a specific account? And also in general, we can identify patterns across our pipeline about the activities, how we should improve our activities outbound and the sales conversations. So that's I call this the revenue layer, because it helps us increase revenue over time. Whereas on the left side, we have the memory layer, which gives our agent the right information about our business and about the data that we uploaded to it. So that's the entire context, 3-layer context system that I use for my own Claude OS. And I also created a video where I set up this exact context system with a Claude OS. So for that, I created a GitHub repository where I basically templated my own operating system. And here you can see in the README that I kind of nailed down this same context structure in here as well. And you can completely host this for free. You can clone this repository and then go through the onboarding, basically answering like 10 to 12 questions about your company. And you will set up the knowledge graph with Obsidian, but also the entity graph with News. So yeah, just want to show you News in that kind of sense. So we have the accounts in here, we can see the ICP scoring, and then we can see the entity graph where we see like the relationships of accounts inside your pipeline, but also we can see like patterns, what they're talking about in the sales conversations and what we can learn from it. So yeah, hope you understand and that context is necessary for agents to stop hallucinating, to stop outputting AI slop and really make a difference in your OS. So hope you liked it. And like I said, you can check out the other video I recorded about how you can set up your OS with Claude.